to Behind the Badge. I'm your host, Chief David Molloy, Director of Public Safety for the City of Novi, and I'm very honored to be joined today by Fire Marshal Joe Shelton of the Novi Fire Department. Joe, welcome to Behind the Badge.
Well, thank you very much, Chief.
Joe, why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about your background, your education, and what brought you to this position as Fire Marshal here in the City of Novi?
Well, I started out with the Novi Fire Department in 1985 as a paid-on-call firefighter, and was happy to take the full-time position in 1988, and I've served ever since, over 27 years with the Novi Fire Department. Was in the supervisory role before I took on the position of Fire Marshal.
Good. And you served as an operational lieutenant in the operations division?
Yep, we had the operations. I was the lieutenant, which is the assistant shift supervisor, which of course the captain in charge of the shift, so I was assistant to him.
Awesome. And how long have you been in your current role as Fire Marshal?
We just had my 1-year anniversary just a couple days ago. So.
And obviously there's been an enormous amount of special training and preparation for that. Can you tell the viewing audience a little bit about some of the training and education that you've had to go through?
Well, I currently am an NFPA Inspector 2 certified inspector. I also do all the plan reviews, which takes a certification, state certified fire inspector. So there's quite a bit of an education. It never stops in that position. You're constantly looking for more education there.
And I think that's one of the aspects that maybe the viewing audience maybe just doesn't understand, is the fact that anytime a new building goes up or a building's remodeled or some new entity takes over a facility, particularly in a commercial, that involves a great deal of work. Why don't you explain that process a little bit?
Well, we're very fortunate here in the City of Novi that the Fire Marshal's Division gets to have a lot of say-so in building safety and construction. And we work very closely with our community development and our building inspectors on making sure that the codes are up to snuff, the buildings are put together with the latest and greatest safety features. So we work very close in making sure that all those standards are met for all our new construction. We also do the inspections and oversee the inspections on all the existing buildings here in the city, which keeps our fire crews pretty busy.
Why don't we talk a little bit about that real quick, about the company inspections that the men and women are doing throughout the day, visiting all of these businesses, some on an annual basis, some on a biannual basis. Can we talk a little bit about that?
About 20 years ago, the City of Novi decided that we would be better off doing what's called the company-based inspection program here in the city, and that's where our firefighters out of their individual fire stations or districts are responsible for the frontline inspections of all the existing buildings in our city. It's worked out very well. It also helps the firefighters see and get into the businesses which they ultimately have to service in case of emergency, and they do what's the core inspections and then feed that up to the fire marshal if there's any problems. It's worked out very well. We're one of the first cities to start to do that, of course, and our firefighters probably will do almost 4,000 fire inspections, all different varieties this year.
And I think that when we see that number and we report out on that, and you report out and discuss that at the ComStat meetings and during several of the other public events and meetings that we have, I think it's amazing that 4,000 inspections that we'll do on an annual basis of commercial developments here in the community.
Yeah, and that can be from a site plan review or visiting a site where a building is conceptual to their frontline inspections, verifying installation of sprinkler piping, fire safety equipment, going through and answering complaints that we receive from time to time, not only from the police and firefighters or from our citizens, but from maybe the building department that they want follow-up fire prevention-wise.
Yeah, and we recently had an explosion at an industrial facility where a machine exploded, and fortunately enough, there was a good fire suppression system in there, and I think probably discharged about 27,000 gallons of water, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, due to the type of machinery and the occupants and what they do there, of course we have to customize the fire protection systems for there. When that facility was opened, they were required to basically upgrade their fire sprinklers, which we all know are extremely important, to a higher gallonage and a better protection hazard. And when they had that emergency in the building, unfortunately one person was slightly injured, but thank goodness that building was up and running actually on the Monday morning. That incident happened on Friday night. Sprinkler systems were designed and took care of that incident.
That's excellent. Let's shift the focus a little bit real quick to some of our home safety stuff. And I know a program that you've always been involved in the history of your service here is our smoke detector installation program. Can you tell the audience a little bit about that?
The Novi Fire Department will always offer a smoke detector to anybody who's in need. We try to target that smoke detector program to people that maybe cannot afford them. But there's certain parts of that detector program. Not only will the firefighters come out and install a smoke detector if you're in need. When we visit your home for maybe another emergency, we always encourage our firefighters to check their smoke detectors and see if it needs a battery or if it needs a smoke detector replacement. And you can always call our public safety department or the Novi Fire Department Fire Prevention, and we'll come out and evaluate your smoke detectors. So there's two parts, whether they're in need or if you're in doubt that they're actually working.
And I understand that we're also looking at pursuing some federal SAFER grants in terms of purchasing thousands of these smoke detectors and try to put those in areas where we do see a need. Other communities are trying to put a smoke detector in every child's home, and I think that's an admirable cause.
Yeah, the need is always there, Chief. When we do visit these things, and as you know, about 3/4 of the smoke detectors only work out there, though. So that's 25% of our homes that still maintain, smoke detectors that aren't working. We try to target with the media exactly to check your smoke detector. We see it all the time on the TV, but we're still finding about 25% of our homes have smoke detectors that don't work. Tragedies can happen. A smoke detector is not only your best, but probably one of your only lines of defense in case of a home emergency or fire emergency.
What is the recommendation in terms of an average two-story, let's say 2,000 square foot home? What is the recommendation in terms of the number of smoke detectors that a family should have installed?
Well, the bare minimum would be one smoke detector on every level. And that's a working smoke detector. What we try to see in the codes nowadays is a smoke detector that's in every bedroom, in every corridor, on every level, including the basements. So we have a total coverage in this home. And all those smoke detectors would be dual AC/DC, meaning they would have the battery and they'd be hardwired together and on its own separate emergency circuit or electrical circuit in the home. So.
Okay. And in terms of children, I know there's always been some debate. Do we keep doors open? Do we shut doors? What's generally the recommendation for that?
When we talk about those smoke detectors, they've talked about different types. Some you see with modern technology, they have voice. Still, the loudest smoke detector that are wired together in the home still maintains our best coverage. When it comes to the children's doors, I've always said, a lot of times, and I know my own children didn't like the door closed before they fell asleep, but as I went to bed, I would always make sure that their doors were closed and latched. Those doors can offer up to 20 to 30 minutes of protection in case of a fire in a house. As you've seen and we've seen, you go into and open a door into a bedroom, and that bedroom is maintained pretty perfect. There was never any heat or smoke condition in that, but the rest of the house could be devastated.
Excellent advice, excellent advice. Well, we're going to take a real quick break here on Behind the Badge, and we'll be back momentarily.
Being a dad can be tough.
No. What do you mean she's not coming?
When's the fairy princess coming?
Any minute now.
But when you're willing to do anything,
It is I, Cruz Zinkerbell. Okay, time for cake.
it's always worth it.
I know it's really you, Drew. I'm just pretending for the other kids.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Welcome back to Behind the Badge. Still joined here by Joe Shelton, our Fire Marshal for the City of Novi. And Joe, the summer months are upon us here in Novi, and some of the things that we typically see in terms of some of the hazards that we think residents should be aware of. First and foremost, obviously, are fireworks. So can we talk a little bit about some of the dangers associated with that?
Yeah, and we've seen more coverage in the media of exactly how dangerous fireworks can be. We've seen some leniency or some changes in the laws in fireworks here in Michigan that allow people to discharge some of the larger stuff we call consumer grade fireworks. That means they can leave the ground, they can make a bang. Our best advice, Chief, is to go to a professional. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a professional display. We don't encourage the use of fireworks anywhere within our city.
And recently, within the past couple of years, I know the state legislature has passed some laws. We now have recognized holidays where residents can use these fireworks the day of, the day before, and the day after. And recently there's some new legislation that came down that we're going to be adopting here. Can we talk real quick about that?
Yeah, when the fireworks laws were relaxed or so you have to look at it as a national holiday. It can't be any holiday. It has to be the recognized national holidays. It's the day before, the day of, and the day after for the discharge of those fireworks. Again, they have to be on private property. You can't do them in the street. You can't do them in the schoolyard.
Can't consume alcohol.
And by all means, when we talk about any of these items, by all means, do not consume alcohol. When we're talking about any time of the summer, can be a tragic time if people are, indulging and doing some of these activities. Fireworks are extremely dangerous. It only takes a moment for them to get dangerous, and if it doesn't feel right, doesn't look right, as we know as public safety professionals, it probably isn't right.
Right.
If it doesn't look right.
And unfortunately, we've seen the devastating effects of that as well, because we've had multiple house fires surrounding the 4th of July holiday. I know we had one on Meadowbrook about 2 years ago where they disposed of the remains of their fireworks display in their garage, and they lost nearly half their house.
Yeah, when we talk about fireworks safety, I know we have a media release out there. Please take a look at it. If you don't have time to read anything else, read that fireworks safety memo. We don't want them used in the street. If you're using them, make sure the adults are there. By all means, be sober when you're doing so. Police up your spent rounds, the paperwork and stuff. Put it in a bucket of water. Leave it outside for the night. Don't put it in the house. The incident you're talking about is the people weren't kind enough to pick up all their fireworks refuse, but again, they put it in the trash in their garage.
Yeah. And we're also looking at, in the next few weeks here, we're going to be presenting to our city council some revised ordinances on fireworks, which on those national holidays, those recognized national holidays, the day of, the day before, and the day after, we're going to be looking at some limitations. So unfortunately, the way the legislation was drafted in 11 and 12, it didn't really have any time frame. So now we're going to be looking at like a midnight to 8 a.m. no fireworks.
And I think that's the proper thing to do. They are noisy. They can be bothersome for people who don't enjoy those things out there. We always like to have those ordinances in place in our community. It gives us the ability to keep it a little roar out there,
Absolutely.
if you would say.
Absolutely. But definitely encourage residents to visit cityofnovi.org, look under the press release or the police or fire tabs on there, and definitely get more information.
Yeah, our best advice is just leave it to the professionals.
Absolutely. I know another thing that we see a lot of backyard fire pits or chimeneas. Talk to a little bit so residents understand the legality of that and what they need to do, because we want them to enjoy their summer, we want them to have a good time, but we also have to think fire safety as well.
Yeah, and the reason for these ordinances is not to make people uncomfortable or not to allow them to do things. It's because we've noticed that there's a fire safety problem, and so we've adopted these codes and ordinances to keep people safe. You have to remember to keep away from structures. If you have an outdoor fire pit, it's 25 feet. Again, you have to have means to put that fire out. This is not a means of burning refuse, lawn waste, etc. It has to be, hardened, seasoned firewood. And the disclaimer to all this is, if we pull up on the scene, we recognize it as being an unsafe condition, we're going to put it out. And if people complain about your smoke, they got to put it out. It's leaving your property, and it's your responsibility. So
right, and I know particularly up around the northern portion, around the lake, people actually have the area, but we also have to keep in mind they also have to have that ability to put that fire out.
That's right, and it should be attended at all times. Again, making sure there's an adult there that hasn't been indulging too much is responsible for that fire is one of the biggest safety concerns we have.
Absolutely. And finally, one of the things that we're looking at also in the summertime is the use of outdoor patio grills and barbecue grills. Yeah. And we have to be cautious because to use that on the patio, we have to be careful. And with the number of multi-residential structures that we have in condos, let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, and again, obviously, this is the barbecue season. We're going to have more barbecue problems this time of year. When we talk about barbecue safety here in the Novi, we do have the International Fire Code, which says you cannot use a barbecue or of any type of cooking device next to a multiple residency. We all see the apartment complexes, and when we consider multiple residency, it has to be 3 or more. So if you live in a condo complex that has greater than 2 residents attached, that's considered a multi-residency. You're not allowed to use the barbecue grills within 10 feet. of any of those apartment complex structures, and we call them combustible structures. You're not allowed to store them on your patios or anywhere near on your balconies if they include the propane. Some people choose to use the charcoal, and they pull them away. But again, make sure all your coals are out, safe, at least minimum of 24 hours since you used it before you store it closer to a combustible structure. And that's an effort that the Novi Fire Department makes every year in recognizing, going out and ensuring with the management companies that these barbecues aren't being used on the patios.
Absolutely.
Great way to lose a lot of property, and it's very dangerous.
Yeah. Speaking of properties, I know you have a lot of projects that you're overseeing right now in terms of new construction. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about some of the major ones that we have going on here in the city of Novi.
Well, one of the more visible ones, I think, is the addition of the Hyatt to our suburban showcase. That's going to be a wonderful addition to our area there for the events, for the showcase there. It's not considered a high-rise, but as you can see, it's a little higher than most. It's a fully sprinkled building. It's going to be fully alarmed and suppressed, so it's going to be a wonderful, safe addition to our building there.
We're looking forward to that. We have a couple new senior mature adult facilities coming online here in the next few months.
Yeah, we have the Maple Place that's up at 14 in Novi. That's currently going underneath its accreditation process with the state. Again, anytime there's a nursing home or those types of facilities, the state also has their fire safety people involved with their inspection program. And then we have the Meadow Lodge, which is a little different setting. It's going to be more a rehabilitation or not a permanent residence.
Step-down care, if you will.
Yeah, an 11 mile between Beck and Taft there, and that's a beautiful facility going there. Once again, full alarm system, sprinkler system to our codes. And so our people are in there pretty regular doing building and safety inspections as the construction goes on.
And then before any of these buildings, the hotel, the medical facility, as well as the step-down care, they all receive a final inspection from the fire department before the building department issues any type of certificate of occupancy.
Yeah, they have to prove that all their installations meet all our codes and standards. The building department will weigh in safety-wise, our fire department, and with those two facilities, the state fire bureau would be also involved in it.
Outstanding.
So.
Well, Fire Marshal Shelton, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for all you do for the city of Novi. It's a very important job. The life safety components that you touch upon is absolutely mission critical to keep not only our business members, but also our residents safe. So thank you for all you do.
Okay, thank you very much, Chief. Have a safe 4th of July.
Thanks, you too. And for you, the viewing audience, thank you for tuning in to Behind the Badge today, and continue to watch Novi Television.